It was cold, but it was beautiful. Yes.
It was gorgeous. Mm.
Happy Monday, everybody.
Morning.
Hello there.
How we doing?
Good.
Great.
Okay. All right. Well, we have a small group here, I see. Okay. Just the four of us. Wow. All right.
Elite.
Yep. Yeah, it is 10 o'clock. I'm sure they'll be joining us in a little while. Okay. Anyway, how was the weekend for everybody?
Beautiful, beautiful but cold.
I'm sorry, what?
nice.
I said it was a beautiful weekend, but it was a cold weekend.
Oh, okay.
It was invigorating.
Invigorating, huh? Okay.
I guess that describes it all.
I see. Okay. Yeah. And Bob, you said that you said active?
Yeah, I've been busy, been painting all weekend pretty much. So
Okay.
that's good for me.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you working on now?
I'm working on my son's and daughter-in-law's dog portrait for Christmas.
Okay.
And as I was telling John, I have a problem though. And the problem is the fact that the dog hair grows dramatically. And so the cycles are, his hair gets real long and shaggy, and then they give him a haircut.
Right.
So, and well, the reference drawing the photo I have is hairy dog. I went over to his house last night and he's bald dog.
Right. He's been clipped. Yeah.
He's been clipped. Yes. And so the portrait I have resembles the reference photo, but it certainly doesn't represent what he looks like at the moment.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean,
You got to pick a time, and I
Well,
did.
by Christmas, he'll be hairy again.
Yeah, well, and John made a good suggestion. I make an abstract out of it.
Okay. Well, okay. That's an interesting idea. I don't know that it satisfies the portrait category though, if you abstract it.
No, not really.
Yeah, but then again, it depends on how much you abstract it.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, if you did a cartoon, I mean,
No,
that's an
well,
abstraction.
my daughter-in-law is very, very artistic. I mean, she however, that's kind of the things she does is more comical, cartoony kind of stuff. I mean, unlike me, who retraces their lines over and over again, when she makes a circle, she makes a circle, and that's it, and it looks like a circle. So she's disgustingly talented that way.
Okay. Well, I've had similar problems, not with dogs, but with people. In fact, I'll relay a sad story to you. I got a commission. This is probably about 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago now. And how they tell you that you, as a portrait artist, you never want to work with children and or animals. Okay. And particularly if you're trying to draw or paint them from life, because they're not going to hold still. And but I was determined at this point of my career to try to actually capture this young man. And like everybody else, I wanted to get to know him. And he was the son of my partner's at the time best friend. Okay. And Ian was, I think, maybe 5 when I began this portrait of him. And so I went over, I had seen him, I had met him before, but I hadn't really spent any time with him. So basically my thing with the parents was, okay, I'll come over and visit a few times, bring a sketchbook. And while he's running around, I'll try to do some sketches and stuff. and just, general observations, to try to get to know a little more about him and kind of what he's into. And of course, you're trying to get into the head of a 5-year-old. So, what I noticed is that, because I went over about 3 times, and, they were both there. And it seemed like when I would come over and I would kind of sit down, he got very hyper, and would run around a lot, be very talkative, be very needy, with his parents, and not really just kind of like settle down and, do his thing as a kid. So after about the 3rd time, I asked them, if they could maybe arrange to go somewhere, leave, and just, leave him and I there. And they did, the 4th and 5th and 6th time that I went over. I would come over and, they left him with me, and I just kind of kept an eye on him. And, it was a totally different situation, because he would just kind of be a kid, he'd just calm down, he'd go play, we would talk, and he would just kind of settle into, doing his thing. And he was much easier to work with that way. Long story short, by the time, from the time that I started that portrait to the time that I finished it, it was about a year for me to complete it. And, if you know anything about 5-year-olds, by the time that they get to be 6 or whatever, they totally change. By the time I finished that portrait, he did not look like the same kid. He had grown almost 2 inches and gained probably a good 15 or 20 pounds, within that year. And so he was really a totally different kid. And by the time that I presented the portrait, the dad was thrilled with it. He loved it. The mother hated it because it wasn't her kid, Well, because, she's there with him every day. She sees how he changes, and it didn't look like the then 6-year-old kid. It looked like the 5-year-old kid, but in her mind, he wasn't the same kid anymore. So, everything went okay, they bought the portrait, but yeah, there was no way of ever making her happy, with that painting of him, ever. So, that's probably one of my saddest nightmare tales of doing portraits that I've ever experienced. And, it's in the end, Bob, my only advice to you is, paint what you see. Okay.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
And we will, the dog's hair will grow out again.
It will. Yeah. And they may get it cut a different way,
Yeah, right.
But, at the time, when you were painting it, or when you began this, or the reference that you were working from, he looked that way then. That was him at a time.
That's right.
And, the sad thing about portraits is that, you paint them and they don't age with the people, they don't. And so, if somebody doesn't know that person, let's say that they're, 20 or 30 when you paint them, and they don't get to know them till they're 50 or 60, and they look at the portrait, then they're going to look at it and go, well, okay, that doesn't really look like you. Well, it doesn't look like them now. It did look like them when the artist painted it.
It's a moment in time.
Yeah.
That's the way you have to look at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless you're Dorian Gray.
Well, that or Benjamin Button.
Another
Yes.
one.
Yeah, that's two possibilities there.
Right. Yeah. Anyway. Hey, John.
Yes,
I've got some good news for you.
okay,
I found a new video.
okay.
Same guy, okay, same guy, but it's only 44 minutes. It's not two hours.
That's it.
Okay, so we should be able to.
Actually, most of the time what you show us is 2 films. You don't really, that's not that many 2-hour films that you have shown us.
Right, but they do crop up occasionally. But yeah, John's comment, I think it was Friday,
Yes,
was that, a video running for 2 hours was probably more than he could, handle in any one stretch. And okay, I get it. I mean, I've been watching some interesting videos on nutrition and diet and stuff, and actually about like food and what what industry has done to the food over the last like 30 to 40 years, and some of those stretch on to about 3 hours, and they get long. They get long and complicated. And, sometimes you have to just stop them and go, have a break, and then come back and take in a little bit more. But, you had a good suggestion, to either break it into like 2 parts, but I think this is a better solution. We'll get the idea of who this guy is, which is really, he's amazing. I'll just kind of leave it at that and play the video and let you guys see what he does. But then I have an exercise.
oh,
That's what I feel.
Yeah. Well, and it's not an immediate exercise, okay? But it's kind of an ongoing exercise that I'm going to have you guys, participate in for maybe the next couple of weeks, okay? And I'll explain to you exactly what that is after we watch the video, okay? So
I apologize. I didn't mean to open Pandora's box.
Thank you, John.
well, why not?
You were right on point.
Yeah, why not? I mean, that's what these classes are all about, is opening Pandora's box, seeing what's in there. Okay, anyway, so away we go. Let's see, how many people we got here now? It says we have a whole 8 people. Let's see who's here. Okay, so Wanda's here. Claudia, hey Claudia, how you doing? Oh, maybe she's off grabbing coffee, I don't know. Jim?
I'm here.
Oh, you here?
Just fine. Thank you for asking.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess you were muted or whatever. Okay, so yeah, Bob's here, Eloise is here. Yeah, John, Bernice, yeah, and me. Okay. So anyway.
Wanda's here.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I started with Wanda.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'm sorry.
Okay. It's okay. It's fine. All right, so away we go. All right. Anyway, happy Monday, everybody.
Thanks.
Find it. All right, let's see, pull this up here. Okay, everybody see a big yellow screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. So we're all on the same page. Let's open that up. Okay, and away we go.
Stephen Wiltshire is a young man with autism, a lifelong brain disorder that affects every aspect of his life.
He was a very anxious child. He screamed quite a lot and cried quite a lot.
Stephen was locked in an autistic world, unable to speak, but his whole life changed when he discovered drawing.
I draw buildings and places and landscapes and cityscapes.
Stephen's a savant, one of only 100 individuals in the world recognized as having extraordinary talent that emerges from autism.
This is him, this is what he needs to do. It's driven by something deep within him.
Stephen's obsession with buildings and his talent was so unusual that millions tuned in to marvel at his extraordinary skills.
When he is drawing, I think he's just responding to something greater beyond himself.
The child with autism who intrigued us 20 years ago is now a young man. He set himself a seemingly impossible challenge to draw a 4-metre panorama of London entirely from memory.
I love the airy view of London, the city of London skyline.
Stephen has only 15 minutes to memorise 7 square miles of the city.
The big panoramic drawings is something I don't think anyone else could do.
And only 5 days to draw the scene onto this canvas, a feat that will push him to his limits. Stephen Wiltshire, an artist with autism, has an extraordinary ability to look at a building and sketch it from memory. Stephen has never drawn Hampton Court Palace before. He has no camera, no pen and paper. Amazingly, all he needs is 10 minutes to memorise the building.
I'm drawing Hampton Court Palace. It's very, very historical. Nice, very nice agent. And sticking back in time.
Stephen's astonishing memory is matched by the speed of his pen. He effortlessly recollects the exact number of palace windows, turrets, and gargoyles.
So this is Hampton Court Palace. It's a scene from the memory I've just drawn.
This picture has taken Stephen less than an hour to complete. His skills as an artist working from memory are unmatched anywhere in the world. He is unique. Stephen's drawing skills have baffled experts for years. He's come to Cambridge to meet Professor Simon Baron-Cohen, the country's leading expert in autism.
That's a residential 43-storey tower.
What will the professor make of Stephen's incredible artistic ability?
Is that in 43 floors?
Yeah.
Okay. The way you've drawn it, are there
Yeah.
43 floors in there?
Yeah.
When you first looked at it, again, were you counting when you looked at how many floors it had?
Yeah.
Do you just do that automatically, counting the number of windows or the number of objects in a scene?
Sometimes they're from the scene.
Yeah.
And then from photographs.
Right. Because, a lot of people walk around and they look at the world, but they don't spend their time counting. But you seem to be naturally counting, which is a very quantitative, a very precise way of seeing the world, where you're sort of carving up the world into objects and getting the number exactly right.
Yeah.
So it's a gift. What we're seeing within one person is a lot of different skills all coming together at a very high level. Spatial ability, memory, this remarkable attention to detail. And, it may be that some people would have some of the skills, but not all of them. In Stephen, they're all coming together and, he must be one in a million.
With only 100 recognised savants in the world today, Stephen is part of an exclusive club.
They said to me because you're a genius, yeah. Because I was very proud and very pleased about all my work.
But Stephen's relaxed and confident demeanour today is in stark contrast with when he was a child. As a toddler, Stephen was locked in an autistic world. He was mute, only communicating through screaming fits.
My earliest memories of Stephen, certainly as he became more vocal as a youngster, was highly animated. I don't think disruptive is the right word, but certainly the outbursts caused a lot of concern. The best way to describe those outbursts would be sort of temper tantrums, for want of a better description. Keeping in mind, nothing would trigger it. It was just something that would just happen. At that time, in the mid-70s, we didn't understand what autism was.
Children with autism, as far as we understand it, cannot communicate as well as other children simply because there's a difference in wiring in the brain. And they just don't have the facility that others have to learn language, pick up on language right from the beginning.
Stephen was diagnosed with autism 30 years ago. Today, as then, children with autism find speaking and social interaction difficult. Without the language skills that we all take for granted, children with autism suffer high levels of stress.
When Stephen first came here, he was a very anxious child. He came here at 4. He screamed quite a lot and cried quite a lot. You haven't got the language. You can't say to the child, Stephen, why are you upset? Tell me. You just have to try and work it out. And clearly someone very cleverly worked out that the calming factor for Stephen was drawing.
I calm myself down because then we could do drawing, every kind sensible.
By using drawing to pacify a stressed Stephen, the school had stumbled upon something that would change his life.
One Sunday, I noticed Stephen in another world, literally on our living room floor, doing a drawing. It was the front facade of Selfridges. It was absolutely beautiful. Certainly not to the standard that he is now, but for a youngster, how old was he? 6 years old at the time? That's what I could still say in my mind.
Started drawing some London landmarks from memory. I've seen pictures and from TV.
Drawing was the key that unlocked Stephen's autistic world. But how did a boy with a love of buildings become one of the world's most famous autistic savants? Stephen Wilshere's incredible artistic ability was revealed to the world when he was just 11. The boy with autism became the country's best-known child artist. His talent was first discovered at Queen's Mill Special Needs School.
Hello, my name's Stephen Wilshere. Nice to meet you.
I remember.
22 years later, he's returning to the school. He's bringing with him a print of a picture he drew while at Queen's Mill.
25 years ago.
Oh, wow.
That's the Natural History Museum. I was at the Queen's Mill School.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That's
You have a
absolutely
pleasure.
beautiful. We shall treasure that and frame it and put it on the wall because you're one of our most famous pupils, aren't you? Well, actually, you are the most famous pupil.
Yeah, very famous.
Very famous, exactly. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
That's
Pleasure.
wonderful.
When Stephen was a pupil here, his future did not look bright. So how did a mute boy with an involuntary tic transform into the Stephen we see today?
Sometimes I didn't speak to anybody because I sit to the teacher paper. Just said the word paper, and then the teachers came to a piece of paper and then grabbed a crayon and started to draw.
You thought he was just scribbling, but when the end result, that's what I can't get over with Stephen.
We didn't really make a huge issue
No.
of it, did we? But we did always make sure he had plenty of paper and that to draw with, and he spent most of his days doing it.
It opened a whole new world for Stephen, where he was this boy that sort of appeared to be within himself. He was flourishing. The communication just came with the drawings. Look at the church.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the Royal Lancaster Hotel.
Over 20 years, I put up the landmarks and look, the church, the Royal Lancaster Hotel, and the Royal Albert Hall. I come back to the school and I draw it from the memory.
When Stephen realised that he could depict a controlled world onto a piece of paper, it allowed him to find control in his life.
There was a shift. And whenever I would see him, I would sense a gradual growth in confidence and self-esteem.
Stephen's remarkable talent helped him develop as a boy. But how unique was he?
it is important that parents understand that not every child with autism has a wonderful gift like Stephen has, because it would be cruel to hope for that, for every parent to hope for that. I mean, I would always say that every one of our children has enormous strengths, but it's rare for children to have such an amazing talent as Stephen.
How are you? How are you all doing? Hello. Hello. Tim. Hello, Tim. Stephen. How are you doing? You're good? Are you being a good boy?
Yes. All the time, aren't you? Yes. Do you want to join us? Or are you supposed to be at the other end? I want to join you. Do you remember playing with Play-Doh when you were at school?
Yeah, the plasticine.
Yeah. Do you still use it? Or have you grown out of it?
I've just grown up a bit now.
When Stephen was a pupil here, he had limited vocabulary and couldn't maintain eye contact.
Sounds good.
Much has changed in 22 years.
You making hot?
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah. It's nice that after all these years, we're seeing him as an adult and how he has achieved for himself. Very proud of you. Done really good. Very good.
Yeah.
What did you used to draw? Can you remember?
St Paul's Cathedral, the Royal Albert Hall, Tower Bridge.
Was I there?
You was there.
I was there.
And you're Oliver.
And I'm Pat Oliver, yes.
Stephen is very exceptional, very exceptional. The ability to draw to such an extent that he can make a living out of it, and a very successful living, is highly unusual for someone who is significantly affected by autism.
After leaving Queen's Mill School, Stephen's career took off. The boy whose autism could have severely limited his horizons was traveling the world. His unique artistic ability brought him a life that most other teenagers could only dream of.
He's covered more of the globe than I have.
I've been to New York,
All the famous buildings in Europe.
Moscow and Leningrad, Amsterdam.
There was the trip to Japan.
San Francisco, LA, Arizona, Chicago, and Washington.
And I know where he's been because I can just look at the books, see the drawings, and immediately have a connection. He has joined a very elite club of great artists, no question about it. Forget about the condition, he's in the zone now.
Stephen and his pens may have covered half the globe, but he's at his happiest drawing his home city of London, where every new building and development thrills him.
It's a very nice place, nice reflections and nice skyline. It's a very beautiful place.
Stephen's rare ability to draw with such precision has led him to be called a savant. There are less than 100 recognized savants in the world today. Individuals with extraordinary mental abilities like those portrayed in the famous movie Rain Man.
We define a savant as someone who is an individual with an island of talent. There are some that capture the sort of public's attention because the juxtaposition of their talent against their disability is very remarkable to people.
There are autistic savants who are musical or maths geniuses. Stephen is the world's most famous artistic savant, with 4 books and thousands of drawings to his name.
This is now finished, and this is going to be very brilliant, because I'm famous.
We should remember that when we're thinking about his art as a way of teaching us about autism as a whole, that Stephen is in some ways quite exceptional. What started off as a strong interest, and which clinically would have been called an obsession, but which he's been able to use almost his passport into an independent life.
For many young people with autism, the thought of independent travel may provoke fear and upset. For for Stephen to draw the buildings he loves, he has had to learn to travel on public transport alone.
If I want to go out and do sketching outside, if I travel around London to do sketching for fun.
It is extraordinary that he's learnt to travel by himself, because he will no doubt have a high level of anxiety of any change, anything different, anything that might change.
He has inspired confidence in us and his family to let him go off and do his own thing, navigate life, and develop the resources required to be independent for himself. And really, it just proves, in spite of the condition, there are little pockets where he can feel alive for himself and not feel constrained by anything or anyone. And I think it's wonderful. It's freedom.
Yeah, good.
Another place that Stephen travels to in London by himself is his weekly piano lesson.
Here, let's see if we can play those that speed.
Each new skill that Stephen learns boosts his confidence.
You see how easy that is? That's not so hard.
Not so
But
hard.
it gets hard when you try to put that bit with it. When I first met Stephen, he was agreeable, but he's now he's developed into a real person, I guess you could say. I mean, he was a real person then, obviously, but he's much more outgoing now than he was when I first met him. His language problems have improved a great deal. When we used to do songs a while back, he always had a lot of trouble singing the lyrics. But now that's not so much of a problem for him.
Stand by me, oh, stand by me, oh, stand by me.
He's made strides out of all recognition of what he was before.
Stephen's drawings, books, and unique story have made him world famous. He's been awarded an MBE, and today has his own prestigious gallery near Trafalgar Square, which attracts tourists and Londoners alike.
A lot of people coming up to say, and customers said to me, "Hello, how are you?" And I said, "I'm fine, thank you. I'm Stephen. Nice to meet you." It was a great. I was very kind to the people. I was very proud.
I defy anyone to look at his pieces and not come away moved or touched or inspired.
Stephen's gallery shows the breadth of his work. He's moved from just pen and ink to try different techniques, learned as part of his art degree.
He finished the degree and he did well in the degree and put on a good show of work. And then I think because he was really interested in printmaking and enjoyed etching, it made sense for him to come back here and work here part-time.
I like to came here for fun, doing some print making some lithographs.
As a part-time student, Stephen can use all parts of the college, but unsurprisingly, it's the print room that draws him in.
Yeah, very pleased.
The process itself has not changed for like hundreds of years, and we do it the same in this room as they've done it for hundreds of years. I think that's what kind of appeals to Stephen, is this kind of consistency. He knows he's going to come into the room and the process is not going to change. I think that's kind of good for Stephen.
Bye, Chris.
This love of consistency and no change is characteristic of autism.
People with autism like to go into things very deeply and do the same things over and over again, so quite repetitive behaviour. And often they resist change in their environment, so become very strongly wedded to routines and get quite upset when there's an unexpected change.
Stephen has built routine into his life around his gallery. He gets his lunch at the same sandwich shop at precisely 1:30 every day.
I'm fine, thank you, not too bad.
Interacting in a public space, making a request, may seem a simple task.
Just a tiny, small amount.
But for a person with autism, it would be challenging.
And a bit of salt, please. No pepper. No pepper, just salt. That's it. That's fine.
For Stephen, the sandwich shop is part of his daily routine, a routine that gives him confidence and allows him to function in this world.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You're welcome. Bye. Bye. Bye, Steve.
With certain autistic traits still clear in Stephen's behaviour, how much has he really changed?
Nice to meet
Nice
you.
to meet you.
You probably don't remember me.
Linda
but-
Pring.
Yes,
Hi,
but we
Linda.
have met before
Yeah.
on lots of occasions.
Professor Linda Pring, who tested Stephen when he was younger, has come to see how he's progressed.
Do I know that store? It's in South
Just
London.
made
Oh, you made it up?
Made it up.
All right. I used to get you to draw things like, when you were very young, draw things like wine glasses. Don't know if you remember, I used to give you some tests and things when you were really little. I love all of your work, but I particularly like work that has...
yeah, very detailed.
Yes, and that's right, and where it
Takes
has...
lots of time.
Yes.
And lots of hard work to do, because they're nicely detailed and very neat.
But you haven't got your cars in here, not the
no.
American cars.
No, I didn't bring today. I've left it at home. I got some about 65 American classic cars, Matchbox or Hot Wheels, and from the toy shop or Woolworths.
Right. I think most boys seem to like cars, as far as I know. And still your favourite is drawing buildings.
Yeah, I like buildings and city landscape, New York, Chicago, LA, and
done a lot of
also London in England.
Yeah. I think Stephen is extraordinary. He's developed a lot. He's developed in many ways. We can see someone who's intellectually, socially, and even in his art, you can see how he's extended and beginning to reach his full potential. And it's lovely to see.
Stephen pushes himself constantly to realise his potential. He wants to draw his favourite city from memory on the biggest scale he has ever attempted, after just a 15-minute helicopter ride over the Thames. But will he succeed? Stephen Wiltshire is one of the world's most famous autistic savants. He's also one of the most successful. He is regularly commissioned to draw pieces for clients, which he travels around London to promote. For a person with autism, meeting new people can be stressful and challenging.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm Stephen Wilshere.
Yes, I thought it was.
Unusually, Stephen has learned how to conduct himself in this kind of situation. He's here with Sarah Buck, a structural engineer, to see his commissioned drawing.
Wow, that was excellent.
That's what we think.
Martel Blue Swift, the first spirit made with VSOP cognac finished in bourbon casks.
Absolutely excellent. All framed up. I think the skyline's absolutely stunning, isn't it?
Very stunning. How it looks in like our imagination.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it looks like a cityscape, doesn't it?
Cityscapes, like in a futuristic style.
Yeah, that's right. And the scale, so you've got the height of this one is in proportion to the bridge here. Yes. Which is your favourite building, Steve?
I like the gherkin. It's a little shape as like an egg or a cigar.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
Stephen's drawings have given him access to worlds where his obsession with buildings can be indulged. Sarah has brought him to meet the structural engineer of his favourite building, the Gherkin.
Stephen, can I introduce Dominic to you?
Hi, Dominic. I'm Stephen
Hello.
Wilshere.
Really good to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you. I've got some prints of I did at City Guilds Art School. That's the Gherkin building in the City of London. Takes a long time, a day.
A day?
Yeah.
What, you drew that in a day?
Yeah, I drew that and got plenty of time.
Yeah.
It's a very nicely detailed.
Do you like the shape?
Yeah. This is one of the drawings that we did for the building, which is made in a computer model.
Wow.
And you can see you've got the shape very well. Can you see this one? There's some cranes working there.
Yeah. They're going to build a new skyline.
Yes.
The Heron Tower.
That's right.
How do you know what's going to be built, Stephen? How do you find out about that?
I saw it in the papers
Right.
and magazines.
To make sure you know what's coming on.
Yeah.
We can speculate as to why Stephen chose buildings as his first topic of drawing, in that buildings stay the same every time you look at them.
I like her being on the top of a tower. Because again, the views are so excellent. And it's so great.
People with autism like sameness, they like repetition, and they like patterns in the environment.
I imagine he must have an amazing ability just to photograph something in his head, but it must have stemmed from an interest in the building blocks, if you like, that make a building. And once again, this enormous attention to detail.
Why not music? Okay, why not mathematics, or knowing the date on the day of a specific year 100 years ago? It's just one of those weird things. I'm glad it's buildings, actually, because I think there's something very special about the way he can put everything into perspective and just bring it all together and inspire us.
Lack of imagination is one of the symptoms of autism. So is Stephen's work technical drawing, or is it creative?
It's sometimes said that people with autism are very good at the technical aspects of understanding, whether it's in music or in drawing, but that they may not be creative, so that they may see the patterns and understand the lawful relationships, but they may not be generating anything novel. But there are plenty of examples in Stephen's work of originality coming in, of taking those patterns and rearranging them in a novel way.
He's not robotic at all. He isn't a human camera. He is definitely putting in his own agenda.
There is a passion in his work, and you can see it in the expressiveness of the drawings.
Stephen's extraordinary talent is recognized by those who design and construct buildings.
Hi, Stephen. How are you? Very well, thanks. Are you?
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, welcome to Foster & Partners.
Stephen has been invited by architect Narinder Sagu to see the practice's work.
This is something you'll recognise.
Oh yeah, I like this whole thing. That's the City of London skyline.
Yeah.
For Stephen, being surrounded by models of buildings is like a child in a sweet shop. There is just too much to savor.
And
that's the Barbican Towers.
Yeah. We use these kind of models to when we're designing new buildings to see what they'll look like in the skyline.
That's nice.
You recognise this one?
That British Museum.
Yeah,
that's BT Tower.
BT Tower. Yeah.
That's cool. And what's that one?
This is a project called Central Markets. Do you recognise that building?
Oh yeah, that's this is in Hong Kong.
Yeah,
Hong Kong Bank. And
this
that's the old Wembley Stadium.
That's right. Yes. The difference of before and after, and the scale difference.
Yeah. Wow. This looks very nice. Very nice. That was excellent.
When Stephen wants to draw, he doesn't stand on ceremony. He just does it.
Stephen's actually 1 year older than me, and I remember seeing him on TV when I was younger. And being a young artist myself, I think Stephen can quite easily falls in my list of people who are inspirational to me. He's a real artist. I mean, the way he's composing the drawing as he's going along and getting the scale so accurate at the same time is something that not many people can do without years of practice and learning. But even if he does decide to rub it all out once he's done it.
I'm trying to get things done.
I love that, the fact that you can rub out the whole drawing and start again and say, you know, I'd like to rephrase what I'm saying in a way, but with a pencil or a pen is something that, you know, we should all have. I always think that, you know, drawing is a powerful language, a language which is just like the verbal language we use or written language that we use, and something that is universal and, you know, you can use anywhere in the world. And we all have it somewhere in our brains. It's just that some have it unlocked to certain degrees and some have it kind of hidden away. Wonderful.
Yeah. Very pleased. Very nice. And he's very nice. He's very talented. He designs buildings. And this is the model of it being done.
If you ever need to come back and draw this again, you're welcome anytime.
Yeah, I love to.
Stephen enjoyed his time at Foster and Partners. He did, however, struggle with completing a sketch of a small model of London.
Hi, Carla, how are you?
He now has a day's grace to relax and prepare himself for a much bigger challenge, a 4-metre panorama of London.
I'm going to go for a helicopter ride around London. They're going to be very fantastic, doing a panorama, and then I'm going to take 5 days to do it, and then I'm going to be very detailed.
Stephen is not fazed by the daunting task ahead. He takes everything in his stride.
Yeah, very new. It's like a new man now.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you. Don't forget to take your sweets.
Yep.
Bye, Steve.
Bye.
Today, Stephen's going to attempt to realise his dream.
I've never done a 4-metre panorama of London before. I'm very happy about it. Very exciting.
This helicopter ride is the first step. A 15-minute flight down the Thames without paper to sketch or make notes. All Stephen has are his eyes to take in London and his memory to hold it. Will this be enough?
I do it by looking at about 10 or 15 minutes, and it gets into my brain by ear in my head, and then draw it from the memory.
People use the term photographic memory in a lay fashion, but more technically there is something called eidetic memory, where people have a very accurate image of what they've just seen, which lasts beyond the usual few seconds that most of us have it for.
I can see everything by my head, and I know it very, very well. It was excellent fun. I see the St. Paul's Cathedral, the London skyline, the Gherkin, Tower 42. I can see Tower Bridge and Canary Wharf.
An hour later, Stephen arrives at City Hall, ready to translate his view of London from his memory to canvas. Amazingly, he believes he can complete the panorama in just 5 days.
So I'm going to do the panorama of London from Tower Bridge to Canary Wharf.
I think he's discovered that a really large canvas sets him a slightly different problem to consider with space. And so I think it's in a way more fun for him to do something new, but still within the domain that he's very good at.
His art has certainly developed a lot in terms of confidence and skill with which he does it. And of course, the big panoramic drawings is something I don't think anyone else could do.
I think it all comes down to Stephen's desire to express himself in a grander way. These big pieces expand him and his identity. It also expands his vision. And the very nature of these very panoramic views would suggest to me that here is someone that has a bigger view of things.
But is it possible for a large-scale drawing of Stephen's favourite city to emerge from these shaky and seemingly random lines?
That's a council flat in that at the town hamlet. It's 5 o'clock now. I'm going to pack up.
How do you get it so detailed?
The details are really detailed, and I can remember them quite very well. Number of rooms and windows and everything.
How old was you when you started becoming an artist?
About 5 years old. From a long time ago when I was a boy. No, I don't like sports at all. Going well. It's getting all well as much as possible. Lots of information, lots of details. He does enter another world. Absolute stillness is the word I would use to describe Stephen as he becomes the artist. He's just responding to something greater beyond himself.
Really, I have no idea how he can look at the world and then represent it on paper in this brilliant, solid way that he does.
For 4 days, the public marvel at Stephen's panorama drawn from memory. Some even check how accurate his buildings are.
My colleague came across Canary Wharf, counted 16 across. So we came to see if he actually had 16 windows. And yeah, he does.
Stephen's younger visitors are less concerned with the drawing's details.
Yeah, that's lovely. What's this one, sorry?
This is Tower 42, it's known as NatWest building.
Okay.
Mary has brought this class of 8-year-olds from Stephen's old school to see him at work.
I'm going to touch it.
That's St. Mary's.
Oh, that's the proper name.
Proper name is known as AKA Gherkin.
I don't know how to express it. It's wonderful. And he's such a clever boy. Just so lovely to have been part of it. Really is amazing.
When Stephen was 8, he was drawing detailed pictures. These children with autism do not have Stephen's savant ability, but they face the same problems of communication and social interaction that Stephen has successfully learned to overcome.
Bye, little one. Bye, little one. Bye. Bye, Mary.
Stephen has been drawing for over 25 hours. He has used 11 pens and 3 pencils in his quest to complete his panorama, which covers 7 square miles of the capital. But will it stand up to scrutiny? Experts will pass judgment on the panorama that he's drawn from memory.
Hello, I'm Jason. Hi, Jason. How are you doing? Fine, thank you. Good. It's amazing.
Jason Hawkes photographs London frequently from the air, often following the same route that Stephen took.
When most people go up over London, even though they live in London, often they get really lost. You know, they can't even tell whether they're on the South Bank or the North Bank. But the fact that he's here and he's picked up this building here, which they're actually demolishing at the minute, was a building my dad used to work in. We used to be Clermont Bentons years ago. The fact he's picked up on that and he's got it really, you know, I noticed which building it was immediately. It's just incredible.
The photographer has found an amazing accuracy in Stephen's panorama. Now it's the architect's turn to assess it.
He's got this extraordinary way of picking up the kind of the landmarks and then the sub-landmarks, and then, you know, the third and fourth level of detail that we might miss, which I think is very, very clever.
But what will the structural engineer responsible for the form of buildings think of the panorama?
What I find fascinating is from this position, you're seeing the city in a particular angle, and you're seeing Canary Wharf in a different angle. But you can pick out the street plans, and once you look at it, you can orientate yourself and start to get your memories of the city into that location. The proportions of the buildings are very accurate in terms of, you know, some of the acts being slightly lower than Tower 42, Commercial Union Building halfway up and St Paul's. So in terms of the heights, the Barbican height, it all seems completely accurate to me over at Canary Wharf as well. It's quite remarkable.
The experts are astounded by Stephen's panorama, but it's Michael, who's known Stephen since he was born, who takes him out of the detail to see his achievement in the whole.
You can see London. Wow. Yeah, that's very extraordinary. Can you imagine this is exactly how you see it as well? Yes. I had a picture of it in my mind, and now that I've seen it, it's surpassed even my expectations. Is there anything that can surpass it? I don't think so. And I think this is a one of a kind.
Certainly is now finished. I'm very thrilled, and I like the panorama of London. I'll feel happy. I'll be so pleased.
He's unique. There's no one else like him doing what he does. And I think that gives him a place in the art spectrum, which he fully deserves.
It's very, very difficult to weigh up which is the most important, his skill and ability in art, or his ability to manage himself in life. And I suppose the life skills would be the most important. To look at a young man who was quite crippled by his autism in the very first instance, see that transformation to a young man who has learned those important life skills and can achieve some measure of independence is very reassuring.
Stephen has come a long way since he was diagnosed with autism 30 years ago. His drawing skills have brought him a long, successful career, and with that has come the social and life skills so unexpected of people with autism. He truly is extraordinary.
As an autistic savant, he was blessed because the gift of artistry that he has helped him to define a very unique identity for himself. And that identity is a very solid, secure, approachable, agreeable human being, in spite of the challenges he faced.
I'm still artist, and also keeps on working and make it even better.
Okay.
Wow, that was fantastic. Wow.
Yeah, pretty amazing, huh?
Yes.
Very much
so.
It was amazing. It's mind-boggling, really, to me.
Yeah,
Good.
me too.
Thank you for showing it to us. I never would have thought there was any such talent as great developed as that.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is that now, categorically, he falls into a category of a mental disability, if you will, of being a savant, okay, which means that he has a unique ability in certain areas, but then, he's not necessarily capable, of normal function in other areas. Now, I think the interesting thing about his story is that, he was extremely limited, when he was a very young child, with being able to communicate. And then to see how he's developed, into being an adult and being really highly independent and functional, is a really interesting and unique story. And, his visual ability, of being able to look at something and remember it, record it, very accurately is kind of the savant part of him, but I think, and this is just my opinion, okay, I'm certainly not a medical doctor or anything like that, but the interesting thing to me in the story is how he took that visual ability to look at something and remember it, and then he kind of built his confidence up over a good number of years to really become a very highly functioning human being, and very independent in his life. And that's really, really a very unique and interesting story in itself.
I wonder how many children that struggle with mental issues are actually savants, and we don't know it. Those who have not been discovered, or those whose talents have not been discovered.
Well, there's a good number of people out there who have different levels of what they call autism. So they do have challenges. And in fact, if you look at dyslexia, right? Dyslexia is a very mild form of, like autism, where you're taking and your brain is, turning letters, backwards, things like that. But the vast majority of people who are autistic are not savants. Okay. And that's one of the things that one of the ladies who, I guess, the school that he went to very early on, I think a lot of parents, hear stories like this of people who are autistic and who are also a savant. They become disappointed, at the fact that, they can't find something in their child, that is unique about them in that way. Autism, it's a terrible thing, to have to, basically, deal with that, in growing up. And a lot of people who, will never be, fully functional, and independent, and it's unfortunate, but, he's certainly a different case. And, I guess for me, knowing, that he basically started off, with this particular, challenge in his life, and then how he's developed, through his art. And, his art is the thing, I think, that kind of set him free. Because, if he didn't have that ability, he wouldn't be where he was today. What I mean by that is he wouldn't be as communicative. He wouldn't be able to be as comfortable and confident as he is, about traveling around by himself, interacting with people, social interactions and things like that. So his art really kind of, in a way, is kind of freed him, and it makes it a very special story in that sense.
Do you think the fact that he is autistic limits the public from knowing about him? I consider myself fairly knowledgeable about things, and I've never heard of him before. Right. And it seems to me he should be, his talent should overspeak, I guess, his disability to me. Mm-hmm. He has the talent. The talent is what's so outstanding. not his disability.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to me, looking at him, just as an artist, his artistic skills, he's really, taken that. If you look at the beginning, his first drawings and things, which were incredible, for somebody who was 5 and 6 years old. Most 5 and 6 year olds don't have that sense of the spatial perception that he had, at that point of his life. And in fact, many adults don't have that spatial perception when they start drawing. And that's kind of a learned skill, for a lot of people. He seemed to have that automatically, from the very beginning. But when you look, well, I guess, when I look at him, I don't see necessarily somebody with a disability. I see an artist, and that's who he is. And the amazing part is, to me, to find out that he has a disability and that he's actually used his artistic skill as a way of, overcoming a lot of those, challenges in fitting into society and, communicating with people. I think, to me, that's the amazing part of the story.
Yeah, I think he's number one, an artist.
Yeah.
I think that he is able to really make a living because he's selling a lot of his artwork. He can sell originals, and they're all on the internet. So he has moved on and beyond the normal artists, some of the normal artists, where he can sell his paintings, his artwork, his drawings worldwide. And he's been very good at that. I remember seeing another video of a young man. It was a school. They had those schools, I guess it was in London. They could do some of that kind of artwork also, but he was still at the school. So he hadn't advanced beyond that, but he had a very photographic memory and did landscapes and did architectural drawings also. It's a video somewhere. I saw it one night. I was doing a lot of searching for artwork videos, and I'll try to find it again, but it was a very good video. It's a long video though, because it was about many of the people with autism all over the country, all over the world.
Yeah. Well,
I think you have to sort of even thank the people around him who recognized and was able to give him something that he needed to help himself. Because when you think about, there are this actress, Holly Robinson Pete, she had twin children, and one of her twin boy, she had a girl and a boy, he was autistic. But now she started this program for autistic children in California, and it helps all the children there. And her son now was working with the baseball team there. He's driving his own car. He's got a job. He's doing very well. And I think it has to do with a lot of people who are around you, who help you achieve these goals by giving you things that helps you and help you push along, as they did Stephen. I think that's a good thing. So we have to give it to the educators also, who can recognize and be able to see that it's not just sitting around and not doing anything, not giving them any challenges. They were able to see something in Stephen, and probably in other children too, who have done well with their lives in other areas.
Yeah. Do you guys remember, it's been about maybe a year ago, we watched a film about, there was an institute, it was in Europe, where they took, a lot of people with, a lot of, a wide variety of different, cognitive ability, challenges, I guess is what you would call them. And they, they basically gave them art materials and let them sort of begin to, develop. And actually, one of the artists that they talked about, and who actually not that long ago had a show here in Atlanta, was Yoyo Kasama, the Japanese woman who had the show at the High.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to see that. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's, I think as time has gone on, there's a higher level of awareness that, art, and the creation, the encouraging the creativity in people like that in particular can be a gateway, for them to find a way of communicating and functioning, at a much higher level in life than they may have been offered, 50 years ago or longer. And it's that ability, or that opportunity, I guess, of being able to be introduced, to those basic materials and things, and letting them kind of find their way with those, that has really made a huge difference in a lot of those people's lives. And that particular institute, they pretty much so run totally independently, with the sale of the artwork that those people create. And it's not that they take all the money, they get a small percentage, but their goal is to give people an opportunity and an outlet. So they take a small amount of that to keep the institution running, and then those people who create the artwork, they benefit directly from that. And so that they can have an independent life, and they support that. So as time has gone on, there's certainly some interesting things going on out there in the world, and people recognizing that, this is, I guess you could call it, using art as a avenue for, therapeutically helping people become independent, who may not have, been able to do that.
So is it outside of art?
No, that was a different film. We watched one on outsider art, but no, this specifically dealt with people who had different levels of autism and, schizophrenia, a whole kind of array of, cognitive and, mental challenges. So, but it's kind of an interesting story. Yeah. Remember, when I started this, I said that I was going to give you a challenge.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Okay.
I was hoping that you forgot. I was hoping you forgot.
Oh, see, Bernice was hoping that I would have a senior moment. Forget. Yeah, not likely. Okay. So here's my challenge to you. Okay. Sometimes over the next, couple of weeks, I would like you to practice something. All right. And what I'd like you to practice is I would like you to take a little bit of time and sit and look at something and give yourself 10 or 15 minutes to really just kind of look at. It could be a scene out your window. It could be something at your house. It could be a person that you live with, whatever. Okay. But I would like, and not just one. Okay. But what I would like you to do is try this several different times and see if it begins to improve for you. Right. So I want you to, just make an observation. Give yourself 10 or 15 minutes to look at something. And then I want you to go away from that object, and sit down and draw it from your memory, not looking at it, not looking at reference, but just what do you recall, in your own mind, what did that look like to you? Okay. And, I'd like I said, I'd like you to try it 3 or 4 times, on 3 or 4 different occasions. And then maybe here just before about Thanksgiving, or well, no, it'll have to be after Thanksgiving, I guess, right? Because Thanksgiving is on the 24th and we're already at the 15th now. Yeah, so maybe, after Thanksgiving, I would like to take, maybe like a Thursday, since most of us are here on Thursday, and send those drawings in. And along with the drawing, I want you to kind of, make a little note, on the drawing or whatever, or, with the drawing of what it was that you were looking at. Okay. So
can we go back and look at the object and then go away?
No.
We're gonna look at it one time?
Yeah, you can look at it one time.
One time and they can draw.
Yeah, that's why I want you to give yourself like, 10, 15 minutes to really sit and look at it, study it in your head, and get a good picture in your mind. All right. Now, the point of this, the point of doing this is, trying to increase your ability, to have what we call visual memory. Okay. And for a lot of artists, that's really critically important. Because, while you're doing something, well, it's like, going out plein air painting, right? If you start in the morning and, you're working on a painting out there for 4 or 5 hours, well, it's totally changed, right? It's not the same. So if you constantly stay with painting exactly what you see, part of your painting is going to be in the afternoon, part of it's going to be in the morning, and it's not going to really feel cohesive, right? And so visual memory, for, visual people is really important. And it's a skill that well, my argument would be that it is something that you can develop. Okay.
I think at this late age, you think we can develop it?
Well,
I gotta go from one room to the other. I'm not quite sure why I went there.
Okay. Well, if you want me to give you the down low on that, is that in fact, what they have found by doing, mentally challenging projects like this can actually sort of restart different parts of your brain and open it up. Yeah, and you can actually expand your abilities, and it doesn't matter how old you are.
Now that's really nice.
Yeah, because there's this thing called brain plasticity, okay? And they've talked a lot about it in the last, particularly in about the last 10 to 15 years.
You call it brain what?
Plasticity.
Plasticity, okay.
Right. Yeah. And it's our, as we age, we tend to narrow our focus and get into a particular routine, and we do the same thing over and over and over again. We live our lives in a certain way.
I'm in the craft room.
Yeah, but what they found is that you take people out of that routine, right?
Yeah.
And you get them to go travel. You get them to learn a new language. You get them to challenge themselves by trying to learn, maybe how to play an instrument or something at a late stage in their life. And what that does is that takes the brain and it starts reconnecting a lot of neurons that have kind of gotten into a certain pattern, and it totally rearranges them. And that, their cognitive ability increases exponentially, when you do that. And it's so there's really something to be said for always trying to challenge yourself in new ways. And that will actually keep your brain young. And if your brain is young, guess what happens to your body?
Stays young too.
Yeah, it does actually. Yeah. So
it seems
aging.
I said, so it seems that we're going to go look at it for 15 minutes, and then we're going to draw it. And then I'm assuming that we're going to take a picture so we can see. After we have drawn it, we need to take the picture so we can see.
Well, you could take the picture before you draw it too, if you want. And it doesn't matter when you take the picture. but I don't want you looking at the picture and drawing it from the picture.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I want you drawing it from up here. What do you remember about it? Okay.
Well, I tell you, last Wednesday, I think we were talking about playing with our canvas. And I'm standing in front of my home, looking across the street and drawing what I saw. And then when I took the picture, it looks nothing like it.
Yeah.
We don't know come from. I saw much less than from the picture, you know.
Well, and then again, you know, when you actually took the photograph of it, you know, it may not match your visual memory because it may be a different time of the day.
No, I'm talking about the objects that were there. The objects that were there did not move. I just somehow didn't include all of them.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah, you may have missed some, and that's okay. You know, but then that's why, you know, we're working on visual memory now.
Okay.
So that maybe you can, you know, hold on to a little more of that information. And then again, too, it depends on, you know, how you were looking at it. You know, were you really just sitting there focused, looking at it and trying to figure out, you know, what it was and, you know, the size relationships and things like that? You know, you may not have, you know, you may just be looking at the colors or the patterns or something like that. But if you give yourself time, and again, you know, 10 or 15 minutes, if you've ever tried to do anything for 10 or 15 minutes, you know, it's a lot more time than you think it is. You know, it can actually seem kind of like, you know, after 5 minutes, it's like, I'm done with this. I've seen it, you know, I'm ready to go draw it, you know. But I would encourage you to stay with it, you know, give yourself 10 or 15 minutes, really look at it and, you know, keep looking at it and trying to kind of figure it out and then go away and draw it. Okay. But give yourself the time to look, because that's a skill, you know, that's a skill in itself, you know, being able to actually look at something and kind of take it in, you know, which most people are very, you know, not very good at, actually. You know, and particularly like today, our ability to focus and concentrate for any length of time is actually diminishing, you know, as human beings. And it's not just, you know, this group. I mean, that's throughout society. In fact, that's one of, I was watching something, I was watching something on YouTube, and they were talking about, you know, job skills in the future. And one of the things that they were discussing is how one of the problems with hiring people right now is that they can't find many people who can sit down and who can actually stay on task and focus for any length of time. And that's because, you know, we're always constantly distracted. You know, we're used to having a cell phone and checking in, you know, checking our email and stuff like that. And in fact, they had a term for it, and it was
ADD.
No, it was they called it digital something. But it's people who, you know, they literally have an addiction to like finding out what's going on around them, you know, through, you know, one of these things, you know, which, you know, if you think back, we haven't had these around that long. You know, how long they've had smartphones now? For the last 10 years, right? And people literally, this has changed society. And the way, you know,
a little longer than that, but okay.
Well, I meant smartphones. Now we've had, yeah, we've had, you know, digital, you know, portable phones for what, 30 years, 40 years now. Okay, to some degree or another. Because I think the first
on their social media.
Yeah.
And everybody got about 25 years ago.
But you know, I do tell some of my friends when they tell me about their memory, I tell them that your memory may not be decreasing so much as you have much more to remember in the 2000s than you did in the 1970s, say. You have all all we had to remember was our phone number, our bank account number, maybe 4 or 5 other things. But now, you just on our passwords, we have 40. You know, that's just that. You know.
Right.
And your hard drive probably is almost full.
Right. And you're constantly changing.
Are you talking about this hard drive, or are you talking about the hard drive in here?
Hard drive.
Both.
Years of all those files, and you gotta, you know, they.
But actually, I don't try to remember mine. I put them in Excel, and then I protect that. I protect my Excel.
Charles, do you remember back in the day when you used to defrag? You had to defragment your computer to get rid of all the little bits of information because it was just cluttering up your computer and had to be defragmented. Well, that hard drive has to be defragmented and get rid of some of those old files so that you can move on.
I thought you were still supposed to defrag your computer periodically.
No, that does it automatically. Today,
yeah, now
it depends on how old your computer is.
Yeah, now, now with the current systems that they have, that's kind of built into them. And all defragging the hard drive is that, you know, basically the computer would find any space on the disk it could to put information, right? But a lot of times, part of the information was in one area and the rest of it was over in another. And through the defragging process, what would happen is it would clear the whole drive and rewrite it, but write it so that it was all connected. And so, but now systems kind of do that on their own. You know, they'll kind of run in the background and they just do it. So you don't have to do it independently.
You know, your cell phone would do the same thing in your contact when you're doing text, and your contact when you're doing telephone. And they'll tell you that you have some same files. Can I merge them? Or can I eliminate one of them? Because you don't know, you're just putting the information in.
Right.
It's like called cleaning.
Yeah.
Of everything.
Yeah. Well, if you have an iPhone, you know, and I don't know how many of you do, but if you have an iPhone, you know, there's this little application called Siri, right? It's kind of like Alexa, but you know, it's kind of the Mac version. But Siri will come up and she'll tell you, it's like, you know, well, you know, we have to update files and things like that. And, you know, and you can go, no, let's not do it now. Let's do it later, you know, or remind me and stuff. Well, eventually she'll get kind of pissed off at you, you know, because it's like, you've put it off for too long, you know, and you're like, no, we're doing this now. You know, and I've had that actually happen a couple of times. Like,
I haven't had that happen.
Yeah, and normally it happens right when you're in the middle of doing something. You know, so
I'm just amazed of how much information they hold. I mean, I have put it to the test of all the information I put into my cell phone and in my my photo file. You know, it is just amazing.
Google creator, he was the Google creator. I mean, imagine everything on Google. You could find any and everything. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, that's, you know, that didn't happen overnight. You know, I mean, Google was one of those things.
That's the thing.
And what they did is they took a variety of databases from different sources and they combined them and they merged them all into one thing. And of course, you know, with the algorithms and things that they have, Google is constantly, you know, collecting new data, you know, and updating and, you know, collecting, you know, new data all the time. So if something's going on out there in the world, you know, it takes it. Yeah, it will take it and kind of categorize it and then, you know, kind of prioritize it, you know, as far as the information that it will present to people when they do different searches, you know, or watch the news or anything else. It will categorize it so that it, you know, it comes up with the things that are more or less current. So
back when I was starting to work, the first computers that I worked on had 1,000 bits memory. not bytes, but bits of memory. Okay, yeah, and they were steel core. But what's interesting also is that John Kerry recently came up with a analogy on what a trillion is, which I thought was very fascinating. I don't know if anybody saw it or not, but basically he said, oh, a million, compared it with seconds. A million seconds is like 11 days ago. Okay. A billion seconds is like, let's see, how did he put it? It was like, President George H.W. Bush was president. If you look at a billion seconds, if you look at a trillion seconds, it takes you back to 36,000 years ago. So that, I mean, that kind of hit home with me, because I mean, just the people don't understand how big a trillion is. Yeah. And then we look at computers these days, and we're looking at terabytes, which is trillions of like 30 or 40 or 50 terabytes of data that some of these servers can deal with. Which that's how you, that's because, well, that makes your videos, what we just saw, go by. That's right. It takes that kind of massive number of bits to kind of understand. But I thought that was an interesting analogy on what, people don't understand what a trillion is. Well, that basically, that's kind of gives you some context.
For me. I'm sorry, Claudia.
You identified that. People that have $1 trillion. We have some trillionaires in this country, don't we?
Not that I know of.
Now we have a couple of trillionaires.
I think they said that if they put all 550 billionaires that are in the United States right now, it would come up to be $2.2 trillion. So that's all of it. Took every penny they have, and so that would be, let's say, 2.2 trillion is what that would, which would run the government for approximately 8 days. I'm sorry, 8 months. I'm sorry, 8 months.
That's helpful.
That's all we need.
Yeah. I mean, this goes down a whole totally different path that we're not going to go down today.
That's why I brought it back to
I have a
the
question
terabytes.
for you, Charles.
Yeah, but yeah, that's an enormous amount of money. I mean,
I have a question for you, Charles. Charles, I have a question about the memory thing that we're going to do with what we're going to draw. Can it be something, because all of us has one thing in our mind that we remember and we can recall it and, probably put it down on paper. Can we do that? Does it have to be something new, or can it be something old?
That's an interesting idea or question. So expand on that a little bit. What is it that you have in mind?
Okay, my grandmother had a rocking chair she sat in all the time. I saw that thing every day of my life. And I remember exactly what it looks like, the color. And I think that I would be able to draw that because I remember it as a child coming up. Is that fair, or should it be something else that we see around us outside?
It doesn't, it doesn't really fall into the exercise that I want you to do. Because what I want you to do is I want you to look, and what I'm trying to do is trying to get you to improve what we call your visual memory. Okay. So the important part there is the visual part, which means looking, so we're going to look at something and see, through the process of going back and drawing it after looking at it, how much we really did remember about what we were looking at. See? And it's a slightly different process. It's a slightly different process than going back and having a memory, from, way back, in your childhood and things like that. Okay. But that's an interesting, and I think we've done things like that where we've drawn things from our lives, memories from our lives and things in the past.
I'm not sure if you were here one, but yeah, we did a drawing one Friday where we thought of a memory we had and tried to put it on paper. I think you were here. I kind of remember you
I don't
drawing.
think so. I don't remember doing that.
I don't remember that.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I think we did that. It was fairly early on, actually.
I think the drawing that Eloise did, I remember she did a person standing by the lake or something.
Oh, you mean her sister?
Yeah.
Or no, her cousin at the beach.
Yeah, that was supposed to be something of a happy moment or something in your memory that happened like that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I did that on my grandkids. We're in the yard picking flowers.
Yeah, I thought I remember you doing that.
Yeah, that kind of that kind of fit that category. But no, this is about, your ability to look at something, and it's like how much information are you really taking in, and how much are you actually retaining, and doing little exercises like that can improve that ability to look at something and remember it more clearly. And it's kind of like gesture drawing. It's an exercise, and it's an exercise that, again, kind of draws on focusing on using different parts of your brain, and kind of activating it. So that would be the point of doing this. Okay.
Are we gonna try to figure out if that part of your brain is still functioning or not?
No. I mean, believe me, it's functioning. It hasn't gone away. Otherwise you wouldn't be here.
Maybe unused, but it's still there.
Yeah. But the question, the point of doing this is, in practicing the skill, it's like, can you improve it? Say, and what they found is that by doing things like this, little exercises like this for your brain, it's a different kind of challenge. It's not something that you're comfortable with at first, and as you do it, the more and more you do it, the better you get, with your visual memory.
I think the challenges that you give us to do, the 20 minutes,
Mhm.
30 minutes, that's a good challenge. That helps me because I can see more things that I need to put down without keep looking up at it. I'm trying to remember what it looks like, but that's a good exercise. I enjoy doing those.
Okay.
I think it has improved my drawing skills.
Yeah,
even though I don't particularly care for drawing, but I think I'm a little bit better.
Well, I mean, if we could go down that path if we want, but if you and I've asked all of you to do this from time to time, take the drawings that you did a year ago and look at the ones that you're doing today, and can you notice a difference? Have your skills improve? And I think most of you would look at how you've progressed over time, particularly in drawing people and figures and things, since we tend to kind of concentrate on that. And I think you'll find that your skills have improved greatly, and that you actually have a much more solid foundation to work with now than you did a year ago. And most of you gotten really pretty competent at drawing people. Now, is it photographically, a photographic representation of them? No. Okay. No. But you can look at those drawings and you can tell who and what it was that you were drawing. You got some essence of who they were. And, that's kind of the beauty of art. Is it's about how do you see somebody, or how do you see something, in your world, and then how do you kind of interpret it. So yeah. Anyway, anybody got any questions about the assignment or anything like that? Let me look at a calendar here real quick.
Well, I won't draw my grandmother's rocking chair.
Well, and maybe that's something that you will do, okay, but not for this assignment.
Not for this assignment. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
You know, it's been almost proven that memory recollections are not what the reality was at the time.
Right.
And I'm sure, Wanda, if you drew that rocking chair and had to compare it with the actual, it would not be the same.
No, it would not.
No, probably not.
In your mind, it's to the exact detail.
Yeah. Something's going to be off a little bit.
Okay, so you might want to make a note of this, okay?
Okay.
So on December the 2nd, okay? So that's 1, 2, that's about 2 weeks from now. A little more than 2 weeks from now. Okay, that's on a Thursday. Okay. Yeah, we'll look at your drawings from memory. Okay, and I'm going to send out an email, and challenge anybody out there who, maybe didn't, show up for today.
That'll be good because we might forget.
Wait a minute. I wouldn't accuse any of you for having, any inability to remember things. Okay.
What did I do with that email? I know I had it.
As soon as we leave this room, on to something else.
Has anybody seen Charles's email he sent out? Can you send it to me, please?
Will we email again?
Do I need to send out a reminder like every 4 days? Countdown.
We can use our age to selectively forget.
Well,
memory.
Actually, most of the things that I know this group, okay. Most of the things that you guys forget, it's pretty selective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
caught on to all of you.
Let me get a clarification on something.
Okay.
Okay. When it comes to us looking at it for, say, 10, 15 minutes, go away, draw what we remember. Then we go back, look at it for another 15 minutes.
No, you can't go back. That's what he said.
No.
Got it. Okay.
No.
No, can't go back.
No, you don't go back. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe you might want to stay there, Wanda, for 20 minutes.
Yes, you give yourself, 10, 15, 20 minutes.
Then sleep on it to wake up and look at it again.
Yeah, I think by the time it's you focus, I don't know that you could focus on something for 20 minutes just looking at it. Okay.
Well, look at it, take a nap, sit right there looking at it, fall asleep, wake up.
Look at it again.
Again.
Yeah.
Visualize it in your mind.
Right. Okay. Yeah. But no, the point of the exercise is, give yourself a sufficient amount of time to really look at it, try to begin to understand what is it you're looking at, and then go away and draw it. Okay. Yeah.
Shall we do several subjects?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Do it for, don't do the same thing over and over again. Pick 4 or 5 different things. It could be like an outdoor scene. It could be something that's in your house. It could be your house itself. Go outside, sit down, look at your house, go back inside your house and try to draw it.
So do we submit the picture of whatever we're drawing also?
Yeah. Send in like a photo of what you were drawing and your drawing of it.
So Wanda, you can send in your panorama of the Atlanta skyline.
There we go. Yeah.
Get a helicopter, right?
Right, have a helicopter.
Yeah.
20 minutes in the helicopter.
Actually, I one of the people who went to Benson, who was a student and a good friend of mine, she lives actually kind of like right across the road from Phipps Plaza in one of those towers. And she has a fantastic view of Atlanta. and I had gone up to her condo up there, and it's just a beautiful view of the skyline up there, but yeah, if you've got a view like that, you can go out and look at that and come back in and draw, whatever that is. Okay. And if you want to draw skylines, I don't know how far away you are from Vinings, but there's a place up here. It's called the Overlook. That's the actual name of the building, is the Overlook. And if you go there, you can go to the parking lot, and they've got a fantastic view of all of Atlanta. Go sit up there and spend your 10 or 15 minutes, taking a look, and then drive back home and draw it. So, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Anyway, anybody else got anything we need to cover today?
I can't think of anything.
No.
I'm
Okay.
good.
You don't want to talk about the weather, politics, religion? Yeah, nothing like that. Yeah.
Next Monday.
Definitely not.
Okay.
We're gonna leave with a good note. We're gonna leave
Yeah.
with a
Let's leave
good
on a
note.
good note, right?
Yeah. Okay. So did anybody fix any good food this weekend?
No, but my son did.
Yeah. What did he cook?
He brought me over, had me over for dinner last night.
Yeah.
And well, let me have a short story here. His future son-in-law and the son-in-law's father have a relative that lives in Alaska. And about a month and a half ago or 2 months ago, they went up to Alaska and they fished for 5 days.
Okay.
And they got a lot of fish. So they sent my son and my daughter-in-law like 30 pounds of cod, rockfish, and halibut.
Oh, okay.
And so it was frozen in small packages, but it's just enough for, each package has about 3 portions worth of food in it. So I had, I'm not sure which, I think it was halibut last night for dinner, which was fantastic.
Yep. One of my favorite fish. So, okay. Well, I did, I had a project this weekend. I mean, basically what I've been doing is I've been living on the back porch for really about the last, since like last Thursday. I started a painting out there. And so I go out and I'm trying to get the fall leaves before they all go away, from my back porch. But Saturday, for whatever reason, I woke up really early in the morning. And it was way, way too early to paint. So I decided to go play in the kitchen and cook food for this week. So I cooked a leg of lamb and made, a couple of different Persian dishes. And then I made pizza, homemade pizza. I made 2 of them, one with a tomato sauce base and one with a pesto base. So I've got food for the rest of the week.
Right. When can I come over?
Yeah, what did I say? What time should we start? Come over.
What were the Persian dishes?
Persian? Well, have you know where Persia was, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like the Middle East, Iran in particular, right?
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, food from that region. They tend to make, have you ever heard of a kebab?
Oh, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So basically what I did is I cooked lamb so I could cut it into kebabs. And then I made it's a dish, it's called maskir, which means that it's cucumber, parsley, and onion, yogurt, and lime. And you make a salad out of it. And then of course you have to have basmati rice to go with it.
Definitely.
Yeah, you can add things like dill to the rice, or there's one of my favorite rice dishes from there. It's called zaresh pulao. Okay, and zaresh pulao is the English name for it is barberry, and they don't grow here, but it comes up with a tiny little, very tart kind of berry.
That's
And
one of my favorite rices.
yeah, but they'll put that, and they'll put pistachios in the rice, and it gives it kind of this tart and sweet flavor. And then usually they have it with like either lamb or chicken dishes. But if you know anything about like Mediterranean food, and particularly like Persian food, they make a lot of different types of what you would call a stew. So it's they take a lot of different ingredients, combine it, cook it all down together, and what you get is you get a whole variety of flavors within that one dish. And it's kind of like, it's a different way of eating. So it's like, when you taste it, it's like, you get sort of layers of different taste all in that one bite. Yeah.
There's a place in Sandy Springs called Rumi's. Rumi's Kitchen.
Yeah.
I've been there several times, and I've had the stew there, and the food is very authentic and excellent. Really, really good.
Yeah.
Hey, gourmet? Did you say gourmet?
No, Rumi's.
Rumi's, yes.
Yes. Yeah.
It's right next to the IHOP on Roseville Road in Sandy Springs.
Yeah. No, it's an excellent, excellent place to eat. If you're a little more down toward Atlanta, there's a place called Sufi's Kitchen, and it's right there on Peachtree Street. I would highly recommend it. The food is absolutely excellent, and you can't. There's nothing there you can order that you won't like.
It's next door to the other restaurant. What's the name of the other restaurant that is next to that?
What is that called? Yeah, it's open like 24 hours a day.
Yeah, 24/7.
Yeah, it's
eclectic, very eclectic.
Yeah. They used to serve nothing but breakfast, but now they do burgers and all kinds of other things too. But God, what is the name of that place? I used to hang out there all the time. See, now I'm showing my age.
That's why I asked you. I couldn't remember that. Romies or something? No.
Rumi's, yeah.
Rumi's, but no, not that one. No.
Yeah.
Its name is whatchamacallit.
No. It's my daughter's
Its name is whatchamacallit.
Oh, whatchamacallit, yeah.
It's a nice place you can go to because it's eclectic. If you're out 11 o'clock at night or without going to Waffle House, or 2 in the morning without going to the Waffle House, and you can get a nice breakfast. And you're sitting outdoors part of the time. Most of the time it's outdoors, but they have it covered. So it's right there on Peachtree.
On Peachtree Street. Yeah. That's gonna bug me. Well, luckily I'll be down there today because I got to go to my doctor's office, which is just down the street from it. So I'll find out. I'll tell you guys either tomorrow.
Yeah, you might want to try it sometime. It's eclectic and it's fun and just down to earth and just go there and experience it. We've been there for 30, 40 years, maybe longer than that.
Oh, it's got to be there more than 30 years. It was there many years before I came to Atlanta, and that was 33 years ago.
Yeah, it has history.
Oh yeah, and it had Jane.
The puppy. I'll see you all later.
All right. Anyway.
Bye.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. See everybody.
Well, thank you all for coming, and yes, we will see some of you tomorrow, and some of you on Wednesday and Thursday. Okay.
Take care.
Okay. Yeah. Bye bye.
Thanks, Charles, for the video.
Okay.
Thanks for the video.
Okay.
Bye.